Hey, kia ora. My name is Monica Shirer, and I'm the International Student Support and Accommodation Officer at EIT, Eastern Institute of Technology in Auckland. And today I just wanted to talk to you about my story as an international student here in New Zealand and my journey from, when I started, same as you, um, to now 5 years later, and what I've learned through these years of being in this country. So first of all, a little bit about myself. I'm from Colombia. So for those who don't know where Colombia is, Colombia is next to Brazil in South America. We speak Spanish, and it's a medium-sized country, I will say, of around 50 million people. Um, so when I was 16 years old, my dad believed that education is the key to freedom. And he realized that in order for me to have better job opportunities, I needed to speak English. So he decided that the best thing for me will be to go to the US and learn English. So he sent me on my first adventure as an international student to America, and I went there to do my year 12, so the last year of high school. So very, very challenging because I couldn't say much in English. According to my English test, I only had 40% of English. And then I went straight to year 12 in a high school in a very small town called Dufour, Oregon. I was, the only Latino person in the whole school. Not many people spoke Spanish, and the only words I was able to say were yes and no. So everything everybody asked me, I always say yes, yes, and that was it. It was very challenging. I cried every day for the first 3 months, and I was begging my parents to let me go back home because I just couldn't deal with the cold, with the language, with the culture, feeling isolated and very, very homesick. But my dad refused. He said, I invest a lot of money, so you have to complete your education, which I did. So 12 months later, actually 10 months, it's how long the academic year is. I completed my year 12. So after 10 months and 10 kgs later, I returned back to Colombia with my high school diploma. And then my dad say, well, I know you want to go to university. I wanted to become a lawyer, and to be able to do that in a private university back home was really expensive. So he offered me the opportunity to go to study in Australia, in Melbourne. So he said, well, I've got some friends there. Their kids are doing great. You can work part-time and you can study, you can do your degree. And once you finish, you can either stay there or come back, but you have that international experience. I was 17, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. So I had this brilliant idea that I wanted to study media studies. And I didn't realize that to study media studies is basically becoming a journalist. And if English is your second language, you don't want to study journalism. But anyways, didn't know that. So after a month of being back home, I got into another plane and make my way to Melbourne. I arrived in Melbourne, and then went straight to university. I went to La Trobe University, huge campus, and again, was very challenging. I did speak the language, but I didn't have much. I didn't even know where Australia was to begin with. So it was very challenging to understand how things worked. Had a lot of issues finding a suitable accommodation. Because I was 17, I stayed with a homestay family. That didn't work really well. Then I turned 18 and I was able to move out of that house. Um, and live with Colombian people. I worked there. My first job, I remember, was babysitting some kids, and I also find a part-time job in hospitality. In my first year, you know, first semester was very, very hard. So I actually failed my first semester of university. And that was a combination of not understanding, but also homesickness that really killed me. That I was crying all the time. I wasn't happy, and I didn't know what to do until I started to make friends. So it took me around I don't know, like a year to be able to feel that I belong somewhere. And then I didn't, because I failed my first semester, I went to another university and I studied community development work. So I joined Swinburne University, and I was very lucky to have other international students in the same course. And that definitely felt that that I found people that could relate to me, so that changed that experience. And then after 3 years of being in Australia as an international student, I decided that I just wanted to go home because I didn't feel that I belonged there. I didn't feel that it was, part of anything really. And so I went back home, worked for a couple of years, and then, as you might all know, if you've been international students in different countries, you start having itchy feet because, when you're an international student, everything's exciting, and you have, you live in the CBD, so it's very multicultural, and you meet other people, and I was missing that. So then I decided to start my third adventure as an international student, and I came to New Zealand. So I arrived in New Zealand in 2014. And since the first day I came here, I felt welcome. Like the people was friendly. I already knew what I needed to do in order to settle. So I stayed in a backpackers, met a few people, then looked for a flat. And I already knew how to find a job. So I knew that, if I wanted to work in hospitality, I needed to do a one-page CV, print 100 of them, and go and knock in every single restaurant door that I could find and say, hi, can I speak to the manager? My name is Monica, I'm looking for a job, this is my CV. And I was very lucky because the second restaurant I hand out my CV, the manager said, I like you, come tomorrow for your trial. So I did go the next day, did my 3-hour trial, and he offered me a job. And that was my first job in New Zealand for the first 6 months. I came to study business, diploma in business level 7. And and then I really had the clear mind that if I wanted to enjoy my time in New Zealand, I needed to make friends and connections. And I will talk more about that later on. But yeah, so I was very friendly with people. I was always making sure that that I was using my time to make connections and to, yeah, connect with people. And luckily, because I had that knowledge, I was talking to one of the guys that was working at the same school that I was going to, and then he said to me, "Hey, Monica, I know you told me you're tired of working in hospitality. I know there is a vacancy available. Why don't you apply?" So I was like, well, sure. I mean, what do I have to lose? It's a part-time position. They needed someone to do pastoral care and marketing for the South American students. So I was like, sure. So I did apply, went through 3 different interviews, and I got the job, which was an amazing achievement for me because, when you're new to a country, thinking of having an office job was like, in 2 3 years from when you joined, because you're like, oh, who's going to give me the chance, and I have to complete this. So I was very, very happy, and I did that job until I completed my studies. And then after I completed my studies, they couldn't offer me full time. So then I knew I needed to have a plan, and I always said this to the students in my current role: you need to know where you're going, and I think that's very key. So when we are here far away from home, sometimes we lose our focus, and we're like, we forget what brought us here. And that's when, homesickness kicks in, and you're not happy and you don't see the light. But I always reminded myself why did I come to New Zealand? And I actually wrote it on a sticky note, all the things that I wanted to achieve. And I stick that on next to my little, bedside table in an apartment here in the city. And I was always looking at that. And my goals were like complete my qualification, find a full-time job, and apply for my PR. And that kept me going. So I did that, and then 2 weeks later, after I started applying for full-time jobs, please bear in mind that this was 2015, so almost 5 years ago. That was a bit easier. I got an interview and I got a job as an administrator for an insurance company in the North Shore in Takapuna, and then that's how my life started. And then I worked there for almost 2 years, but I started feeling that that wasn't what I wanted to do. I really missed being with people and with students, and helping others to achieve their dreams. So I started looking for my dream job, and my dream job is the one that I currently have. It's being an international student support person, and it's to help students to achieve their dreams and to give them all the support that they need to succeed. Because I know how hard it is to be an international student. I know how hard it is to make $200 a week and pay rent and sometimes send money back home and live out of noodles and feeling lonely and isolated. So this is where I am now, and it's been 3 years and a bit that I've been doing this job, and I absolutely love this. I've had the pleasure to work with hundreds of students and seeing all their success stories, and it's a very rewarding job. And I'm very, very happy I had the opportunity to do this because it aligns with my passion and my qualifications. So I'm very grateful. Yeah, and that's kind of my story. But I just wanted to, the key message I want to give today is that I wouldn't have been able to be here today or accomplish everything that I accomplished in New Zealand if it wasn't because I had friends and I had a support person and I had connections. So my message to you today is you need to get out of your comfort zone. You need to go there. You need to meet people. You need to connect. You need to network. That's the only way you're going to enjoy your experience as an international student, and it might be the only way that you're going to be able to find a job and to succeed. And I've seen that with myself. I see that with my Kiwi friends. Some of my Kiwi friends, they don't even have a CV. All their jobs have been through reference. I think it's something around 70% of jobs never get advertised in New Zealand. New Zealand have the companies are really small. So, they're always looking for internal recruits. So if someone knows someone, they will, refer them. I had a friend working from Auckland Council, and she was getting $500 per every person that she referred to work there because it's really hard to find good people. So I always say this to students: go out there, meet people, make friends, go to meetups, go to expats groups, talk to the people at school, talk to someone on the street. The amount of students and people that the stories that you hear of, oh, I met someone in the elevator and then they offer me a job. I'm serious, that does happen, So if if you smile at someone, and if you're friendly enough, you can never know who you're going to meet. And I've seen that. I had students who have secure internships and jobs just by volunteering or going to a walking group with the meetups, and meeting the manager of PwC and then getting an internship offer. um, I had a student a couple of years ago. She was very friendly with person at the bank, and she said, "Hey, I've been coming here." She had an issue with something happened with the bank. She developed a relationship with the lady, and then she said, "I'm gonna finish my studies in 2 months. Do you have any vacancies?" And she was like, "You know what? Yes, we do. Why don't you apply?" And then she got the job, and so that was amazing, and so that's something that I will really encourage you to do. Make the social connections if you can. That will change your life. And I always said to students, Once you get out of your comfort zone, right? That's where magic happens, and that's when amazing things will come to you. And I've seen that in myself and in my students. So yeah, go out there, be brave. I know it's scary, but you can never know. You can never know who you're going to meet, and New Zealand's about 2 degrees of separation. If you meet someone, then you meet another one and another one. So just go for it. That will be my advice to all of you, and enjoy your time here. If you made the decision to be here today, you're very lucky. I always said to my students, think about how many people in India, China, Sri Lanka, South America will kill or die to have the opportunity to be here today. And you have that. So make the most out of it. And always remember, why did you come here? What was the purpose? And make it happen. Is it easy? No. Is it impossible? No. It takes work, but it's possible. As long as you work for it and you have a good attitude, and you go out there and you blend into the community. And that will be, for me, that's the key to a successful experience as an international student in New Zealand. So, yeah, on that note, that's what I would like to share with you. And I don't know if, and I'm sorry I can't be today in the live webinar. I actually had a trip planned to go with my husband and some friends to Tauranga. And we're gonna be going around that area, diving and fishing. I don't do diving because I don't have my license, but I'll be watching the boat, and that's the reason why I can't be today in the webinar. But if you do have any questions, or if you'd like to contact me, I'll leave my contact details available, my email. Feel free to to reach out. So thank you.
Thank you, Monica. What an incredible journey, and also your candid experience as an international student from the age of 15. That
Mm.
must be really hard. First time left home to a country where you're unfamiliar with, and also speak a different language. Um, and tell me what gets you through. Uh,
I think that what got me through, I mean, obviously it's different when you're like, 15, 16. What got me through was, I couldn't disappoint my parents. I
mm,
couldn't do that to my dad, especially. He, spent all this money and he believed in me, and
mm,
kind of letting him down, which I know it's the case of a lot of
mm,
international students letting
mm.
family down. So that got me through. But later on, now, in 2014, what got me through was really always reminding myself that this was my dream and this is what I wanted to do, and it was an amazing opportunity. And nothing is impossible if you have your mind to it, and if others have done it before me, I could do it too. So,
I have to say it's really inspiring, especially when you say, like you have that notes for yourself to remind what your goals to come to New Zealand. And I think which speak volumes of how determined you are. And I think quite often whether one able to success or not to secure employment, determinations does play a very key role, isn't it?
correct. Yeah, determination. That's exactly the word that,
Mm,
I always said to myself. And, I did get the job in 2 weeks after I started applying, but, I sent hundreds of CVs. Like, I was every day, I had to sit down and apply for at least 10 jobs every day. And in New Zealand, you have to know how to apply for a job.
mm,
And I remember having 4 different CVs, one from
mm.
hospitality, one for customer service, one for marketing, and one for logistics and supply chain, because I did that when I was back in Colombia. So I really spent the time to do it, and just having that determination and the plan of this is what I want to do. So yeah. it does take work, and I know a lot of people get disappointed. I
mm,
have a lot of students, oh, I've been applying for jobs for 2 months and no one gives me a call. And I
mm.
ask them, well, show me your CV. Have you show your CV to our employment advisor? And the CV is a mess, 5, 10 pages long. Like, no one's gonna call you. So it's getting that understanding that you do need to adapt. You need to adapt to the country, to the culture, to the way that Kiwis do things here, to be able to get into the workforce or get into the community, and yeah, and achieve what you want to achieve. Mm.
And I have to say, even though like I could be wrong, but it sounds like you quite an outgoing person. Um, so even though you're outgoing, but it doesn't mean that it's easy, isn't it? Because
Mm.
you still have to take the steps to go out and meet strangers. Like you say, like you go to different places to hand deliver your own CV to people that you don't know and introduce yourself
Mm.
and talk
Yeah.
to people.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is hard. It is hard, but then you have two options.
Mm, mm,
So option one, you stay at
mm,
home crying and feeling sorry for yourself, or
mm,
option
mm,
two,
mm,
you take hints and you just say, like, or I make it work,
mm.
or I make it work, really.
And I really like your strategy as well, because you didn't just wait until you finish your diploma and then only say, "Oh, now I go out and look for a job." I know that's not going to work as well. You have to start somewhere, isn't it? Start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like in Australia, I didn't mention this, but I did, my first jobs, in fields that were not related. But in order for me to get experience in my field, which was community development work, I had to do a volunteer work for 6 months. So for 6 months that I was having almost a part-time job for free, but that gave me the knowledge and the experience that I needed to secure my following job. So sometimes we need to do this kind of things. We need to
Mm,
volunteer. We need to, you know, do internships and knock
mm,
lots of doors to
mm,
build that, portfolio, or that experience that's going to allow us to get the ideal job. Yeah.
mm. And also like what you say, talk to your network, go out, meet people, but also talking to people. Well, I think a lot of people who probably a little bit shy might find a bit hard to talk to a stranger. So do you have any tips, like for people? I think because you have experienced a lot of, like meeting with, what do you do to kind of start the conversations or
Yes, so I do run a workshop on networking and making friends for our students, because I know it can be scary. And the best way to do it is join a club with
mm,
something that you're interested on. So, for example, or something that you want to improve. So, I always recommend students to go and join a Toastmasters club. You go there, they're gonna teach you how to build your communication skills. They're gonna help you how to work on your um, you know, on your leadership skills, and you're gonna meet people that have similar interests as you. And I said that because I joined a Toastmasters club in New Zealand, and that changed my life. And also, if you go to meetup.com, you're gonna find thousands of social groups around Auckland. So if you like walking, or if you like dogs, you you type dogs, and it will show you all of the social groups around the city with people that are interested in dogs. So go to those groups, and then if you have something in similar to talk, just oh, cute dog, and that's how you start. And I always said to students, talk about, Kiwis love to talk about the weather and rugby and how horrible traffic is in Auckland if you're in Auckland. Never talk about controversial topics like religion or politics, or you know um, avoid those things. But so if you're a quiet person, try to go and meet people that have similar interests as you. And I think as human beings, we do have something that we like. If it's eating, or if it's dancing or painting or video gaming, I reassure you that there will be a group like that in these online platforms. And I think we're in a very lucky era where technology allowed us to connect with people, that we wouldn't meet in any other way. So that would be my advice. Just take that first step. And what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is that they don't engage. Fine, you move into the next person, and that's okay. Not everybody's gonna like us. We don't like everybody. That's okay. But I think once you do the first step, you're gonna be able to progress. And I've seen that with my students, and I've seen when they're shy, but then they realize they had to do this to progress, and they do it, and then amazing things happen for them. So yeah.
Thank you. I think that is true. When you find a group that's, like has similar interests, then you don't feel like you're forcing yourself to talk about something you don't know. And it came more naturally, and also you're able to connect to people and gel with people. Um, I really like that idea.
Mm.
Um, and just want to say thank you so much for your time, Monica. And honestly, I really enjoyed the last 20 minutes talking to you and hearing your personal journey. Do you have any last words you want to share with the international students here?
um the last I would like to end my talk with a quote from Jesus, and it says, "Everything is possible for the person who believes." So if you think you can make it happen, you can make it happen. And that's how I like to end my talk. And go for it, you can do it.
Thank you so much once again. And this is beautiful. I really enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.